My name is Ikeazor Akaraiwe. I am the convener of We the People of Nigeria. Nigeria has failed as of today, 63 years after independence. The federating units should run their ports and their airports under the big umbrella Federal Republic of Nigeria, paying a tax to the central government. Why is this necessary? Because in a nation like Nigeria with so many competing interests, the people. My name is Ikeazor Akaraiwe, a lawyer, by the way, senior advocate of Nigeria. I am the convener of We the People of Nigeria. The burden of We the People is to chart a way forward for a better Nigeria, as encapsulated in the preamble of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which clearly articulates good governance and the welfare of all the people and the indivisibility and indissolubility of the Nigerian nation. Nigeria has failed as of today, 63 years after independence, failed to attain to the heights of her potential. And what a great potential this nation has. This is the part 3 of We the People, and in the part 2 series, we discussed a way forward for Nigeria was greater devolution of powers, greater devolution of powers to the federating units. And I referred to the fact that Nigeria's ethnic nationalities, approximately, some say 250, but if we break them down to the barest minimum, we might be talking about 450 ethnic nationalities and 2 major religions. Nigeria's ethnic nationalities are mostly too huge in number, and where they're not so huge in number, disparate in culture and customs, as to require a measure of independence to these ethnic nationalities. And I do not mean to speak about secession. I am talking about greater devolution of powers to federating units in such a way that the federating units operate as quasi-independent states after the mold and the order of United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. For example, you have 4 nations in one. In the UK, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England. 4 nations in one. Yet, they are one nation with one head of state, but with greater degree of internal autonomy. So much so that the oil in the North Sea belongs to Scotland and not to the entire UK. That is a very respectful and respectable system of federalism. Britain has an unwritten constitution, and I dare say that what Britain is practicing is federalism. Some might even say, I would even venture to say, that Britain is a confederation. Nigeria got birthed as a nation in 1960 under the same structure. 3 regions: Northern region, Western region, Eastern region. And 3 years or thereabout, 3 or 4 years, 4 years after independence, the Midwest region was created by the parliament, by a plebiscite. So Nigeria had 4 regions. The original idea of Nigeria was to structure Nigeria after the UK and her internal arrangement regions, because as different as Welsh is from English, so is the difference between Hausa and Igbo. as different as Scottish is from Irish, so different are the Yoruba from the Tiv or from the Ijaw. So, in their wisdom, the founding fathers, in collaboration with the British colonial masters, reasoned, and correctly in my humble view, that Nigeria should run a regional system whereby the states, the federating units, would be quasi-independent states. For example, every resource in each of the federating units in the First Republic belonged to the regions. And the regions were required to pay a tax to the central government. The regions paid a tax to the central government of about 50% of the resources. Contrast that with now, where due to the fallout of military rule and the Unification Decree of 1966 and the consequent abrogation of regions and the unitarization of the federal space, the federal government owns all the resources, and the federating units were created by the federal government by military fiat. In fact, no democracy in Nigeria of the four republics, apart from the First Republic, no republic, no democracy has been able to create federating units by military fiat, irrespective of the wishes and the will of the people. Some of the times, federating units were created, states were created, and the federal government hands out every month allocations to the states. Stricto sensu, Nigeria is a unitary state with some federal features. And the proposal of we the people is that we go back to the principles, the first principles of federalism in Nigeria. We go back to those first principles of regionalism. And let me explain. I do not mean that we go back to 3 regions or 4 regions. We already have 36 states. Let the 36 states begin to operate upon the principles of the regions. In the First Republic, the regions each region had their own flag. Each region had their own police, the native authority police, which was basically local government or county council police. Regions even had their court of appeal. We had the Western Nigeria Court of Appeal. Let each federating unit do what works for them. And above all, fiscal federalism, let the federating units run their resources and pay a tax to the central government. Let the federating units run their ports and run their airports. The federal government may have one port it controls, or 1 or 2 airports it controls, but the federating units should run their ports and their airports under the big umbrella Federal Republic of Nigeria, paying a tax to the central government. Why is this necessary? Because in a nation like Nigeria with so many competing interests, in part 2, we mentioned that just the 3 largest ethnic groups in Nigeria alone, if they were in Europe, they would be nations. The Hausa, 69 million, the Yoruba, 48.8 million, the Igbo, 42 million. If you add the Fulani at 20 million, Zambia in Southern Africa is 19 million. The Ijaw are 15 million. The Ijaw are certainly more than the combined populations of Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Equatorial Guinea. The Ijaws alone, here they are a minority ethnic group in Nigeria. But it does not make sense for each ethnic nationality in Nigeria, in Africa, to be a different nation. It doesn't make any sense. And in any case, destiny and the sheer happenstance of history have conspired to put us together in one nation. And it is too late in the day for us to break up into several nations, in my humble view. Rather, how do we manage this our diversity? How do we evolve unity in diversity? The solution is greater devolution of power. We have 36 states. I would venture to suggest that some of these states are not economically viable, and perhaps merger will be the best way forward. That is, 36 states merge into 18 states or 12 states.